Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to a new edition of the Valentine's Views podcast here on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. All right, Giants OTA 6 is coming up on Thursday. That will be the second OTA that media has access to, and I thought today we would spend just a few minutes talking about some of the things that I'm looking forward to on Thursday, some of the things that I will be paying attention to. First and foremost, of course, is the Giants rookie class led by quarterback Jackson Dart and edge defender Abdul Carter. In the first OTA that media saw last week, Dart spent most of his time with the third team, but did get 3 reps with the first team. We will, of course, be watching to see if that pattern continues. We'll be figuring out how many reps each quarterback gets. We'll be paying attention to pretty much anything and everything that the young rookie quarterback does as he develops and learns the Giants offense. One of the things that was really, really noteworthy a week ago when we had access to an OTA was the fact that head coach Brian Daboll spent an extraordinary amount of time hovering around Jackson Dart. Offensive coordinator Mike Kafka had the walkie-talkie and was calling plays, but it was Daboll who was always in close proximity to Dart, was always talking to Dart between plays, before plays, after plays. So Daboll, obviously, whether he runs this offense, whether he calls plays, which has yet to be determined, Daboll is very personally invested in getting Jackson Dart ready to be an NFL quarterback. And we'll be watching that on Thursday as that continues to unfold. We will also, of course, be paying attention to Abdul Carter, the number 3 overall pick. And I have to be honest, when I was there a week ago, when I was there last Wednesday, I didn't get enough looks at Abdul Carter, how he was being used, where he was lining up, how many reps he took, with the first team, second team. That is something that I want to pay specific attention to on Thursday so that I can bring some information, some detail to you guys at bigblueview.com. Bobby Okereke, Giants inside linebacker, spoke last week about the idea of Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns all playing together, how defensive coordinator Shane Bowen might utilize all of that personnel. Said there were a lot of interesting alignments being messed around with. So we'll be looking for those, trying to get a flavor of exactly how the Giants are lining Carter up, where they're moving him around, how often they're using those 3 edge defenders together, and obviously what they do in an early June OTA is not exactly what they're going to do, in September or October, but it gives us an idea, of what Bowen is thinking. It'll tell us, Bowen, of course, is kind of in the lab right now, trying to figure it out, trying to see what each guy can do, what each guy can handle. Can Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden, can they handle sliding outside once in a while, as a just to sort of confuse the defense, moving personnel around. That's one of the things that defensive coordinators try to do. They try to move their personnel around. They look for matchups. They try not to be static in terms of, letting the opposition know exactly where their best players are going to be all the time. And we'll be looking forward to getting eyes on some of that as well. Also hoping to see Evan Neal get some team reps at guard on Thursday. When we were there last week, Neal, as promised, as expected, was lined up at guard, but we didn't see Neal take any team reps. We saw him only do some work on air during install periods as lined up as a guard. Can't really tell much from there. All we can report from that is, hey, Evan Neal was at guard. Maybe we'll get a chance to see some of Neal during team periods. Obviously, these guys are in shorts and t-shirts. Theoretically, there's no contact in these practices, although there's a little bit of pushing and shoving, a little bit of patty cake that goes on with the offensive and defensive linemen, but not nearly the physicality that you'll see in training camp or in preseason games, in joint practices if the Giants have any, and of course during regular season games. But we might get a chance to see, if Neal looks comfortable, lined up against a big defensive tackle like Dexter Lawrence or Darius Alexander or Rakeem Nunez Roches or whoever during practice on Thursday. That will be interesting. Also for me, one of the things that I treasure most about getting down to New Jersey, getting to practice, getting to the facility isn't necessarily seeing the practice itself. It's getting to talk to players, it's getting to talk to coaches, it's sort of getting the lay of the land. And on Thursday, we are expected to have access to Giants coordinators Mike Kafka on offense, Shane Bowen on defense, Michael Gabriel on special teams. And for me, I am really looking forward to talking to Kafka and to Bowen. This, I believe, is the first time since the season ended, since the 2024 season ended. First time I think that we will have access to talk to the coordinators. And Kafka has been calling the plays throughout rookie mini camp, throughout the OTA that we had access to. And of course, Mike called plays for the Giants for the first 2 years. I don't know what the plan is going to be. I have my suspicions. If past history holds, the fact that Kafka is doing it now tells us that the plan is for Kafka to do it during the regular season. Mike's not going to tell us on Thursday, but I'm sure we'll try to ask him, some questions about calling plays, about his preferences, and he'll sort of deflect those, but we'll talk to him about the play calling and about the responsibilities and about the differences of being an offensive coordinator when you're calling plays versus being one when you're not calling plays. I'm also curious to talk to Mike about the idea that he was in Kansas City. I think he was the quarterback's coach or assistant quarterback's coach. He wasn't offensive coordinator yet, but he was in Kansas City when the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid has given Kafka some credit in the past for his work with Mahomes in getting him ready throughout his rookie season. So I'm curious to talk to Mike about what he learned from that experience in working with Mahomes, what similarities he might draw, from working with Mahomes back then to working with Jackson Dart now, and how that experience might benefit him in helping Jackson Dart get ready to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know what the dynamics are with the Giants. As I said, Brian Daboll is spending a lot of time with Jackson Dart. Dart has said that Daboll coaches him constantly. Anytime he thinks of something, he comes in and talks to Dart about it. He spends a lot of time near Dart on the field, but I don't know what the dynamics are off the field. I don't know, in drill work, whether Mike Kafka is responsible for a lot of that, whether quarterbacks coach Shea Tierney, assistant quarterbacks coach Chad Hall is handling most of that. I'm curious maybe to talk to Mike about the dynamics of, between all of them, you know, who works with Dart on specific things, who watches film with Dart, who does the technique work, the footwork drills, who does the who sort of oversees all of that, as the Giants, of course, have so much invested in getting Jackson Dart prepared to be an NFL quarterback. So we'll talk to Mike about that, and we'll have his answers for you on Thursday or Friday. We'll have as much detail as we can about that. We'll also talk to Mike about Russell Wilson, of course, and other guys like Jalen Hyatt, like second round or like fourth round pick Cam Scatterbo, the new running back, development of some of the offensive line, the health of Andrew Thomas, perhaps. So it should be fascinating to talk to offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. It will also be fascinating to talk to defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. I am, of course, fascinated to get some insight from Bowen about what he's learned so far about Abdul Carter, about what he's trying to do, about the process of trying to figure out the best way to utilize all of these players, figure out what he's learned so far, about this group. Uh, Ask Mike about the additions to the secondary, Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland, the two big additions to the defense. And I'm curious to ask Bowen if or how much input he had into those free agent decisions. There were several cornerbacks available in free agency, and did Bowen have a preference? Did Bowen express interest specifically in Adebo? It was maybe a little bit surprising to some that the Giants, a year after not spending big on Xavier McKinney, gave a 3-year, $45 million contract to Javon Holland. Is that something that Bowen pushed for? Is that something that he wanted to see? So I'm curious how forthcoming he'll be in talking about the big free agent signings that the Giants made, including defensive end, edge defender, defensive lineman, however he ends up being used, Chauncey Golston, former Dallas Cowboy. Um, Also curious, maybe to talk to Bowen about um, guys like Bobby Okereke and Tay Banks, who didn't put their best foot forward a year ago. Okereke, good player, didn't have his best season. Banks, 2023 first round pick, asked to be cornerback one for the Giants last year, didn't live up to that. They had some effort, maturity, attitude issues, whatever you want to call them, which were surprising because there's none of that in Tay Banks' background. So I'm curious to find out from Bowen if he feels like those guys are in better places to contribute in 2025. Also, might ask Shane about new defensive backs coach Marquand Manuel, who has replaced Jerome Henderson. Manuel, most recently with the Jets. Just want to ask Shane, what sort of difference he thinks Manuel, is making with his revamped secondary group. So a lot to look forward to on Thursday. And we'll have all of the OTA coverage for you at bigblueview.com. I'll try to get a review podcast put together for you guys here on the channel for Friday. That's a little bit tough because I do spend 5 hours in the car on Thursday going back and forth to practice, but we'll try to get that done if we can. And but anyway, check out all of our OTA coverage during the day on Thursday and on Friday at bigblueview.com. Giants fans, as always, thank you for watching. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.